welcome to the Sparta Board of Education regular meeting, Thursday, May 27th, 2021. At, what time? 6:57 p.m. Lee, would you please read the meeting notice announcement?
Sure. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Sparta Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be advertised by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Sparta Board of Education office, 18 Mohawk Avenue, as designated by the Board of Education for posting of such notice in a public place. Written notice was emailed on May 20th, 2021 to the Daily Record, New Jersey Herald, tapintosparta.net, and to the Township Clerk specifying the date, time, and place of this meeting.
Thank you, Neve. Roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Here.
Ms. Morano,
Here.
Mr. McGovern, Mr. Morris,
Here.
Dr. Serrano,
Here.
Ms. Sorensen,
Here.
Dr. Zawicki.
Thank you. Please join me in saying the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we go into closed session, I would like to make a motion to accept the resignations of board members Jennifer Grana and Kate Madison.
Motion.
Effective May 19th, 21. I'm
Motion.
making a motion, I just need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen.
Thank you. Motion carries. Neve, could you please read 2.1, convening closed session?
Yes. Okay. Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, provides for the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Sparta Township Board of Education is of the opinion that such circumstances exist to discuss student matters, personnel, legal update, and matters of attorney-client privilege, which is exempt from public participation pursuant to New Jersey Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meeting Act. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Sparta Township Board of Education shall enter executive session on May 27th, 2021 at, does anybody have the time? 7 p.m. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the executive session. The information discussed during the executive session will be disclosed to the public as soon as it is determined by the board that the information is no longer confidential.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Kurt, I heard you then.
Yeah, it was me.
Me? Thank you. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to enter into closed session now. We're running late. I expect it to be about an hour. Give or take. But we can do that closer to 8 o'clock. Thank you. Resuming into open session at 8:39 PM. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Smith?
Ms. Brigg,
Here.
Ms. Grano,
Here.
Or yes, I'm sorry, yes. It's a yes.
Oh,
Mr.
yes.
Morris,
Yep.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zwick.
Present.
Thank you, and I apologize for our delay, everybody. We had quite a bit to talk about in executive session. I start this meeting off tonight with my very special bracelets from our unified team and coach. Choose to include, all means all. Thank you, Coach Schock, for giving the board all these bracelets. Moving on to item 4.1, district recognition. Mark? So this evening, we're going to start off with something positive. As we've talked about in the past, Mr. McQueenie is moving on to another district, and we just wanted to acknowledge his efforts and work over the last year and kick off this meeting on a positive note. So with that said, Mr. McQueenie, I'm going to read to you what our certificate says to you. The Sparta Board of Education presents this certificate to Patrick McQueenie in appreciation and gratitude for your dedication and service to the Sparta Township School District during the COVID-19 global pandemic of 2020-21. Thank you very much for everything you've done this past year. He will be with us for another month, but I wanted to make sure he knew how much we appreciated his effort. So we have no presentations? Okay, do our student reps here?
All right, good evening. I'm Kyle Neuwirth, the executive historian. Today is a special board meeting for us, as this is Lucas and I and the current seniors, our last meeting as board representatives, as we look to turn it over to great leaders for next year. But before I do, I want to start by mentioning prom, which happened last night. It was a great event for all of us. We had a great time, good food, everything about it was great. There weren't any major problems, and everything went without a hitch. So we were very appreciative to the board for all the hard work that went into the planning of that event, and also the funding of the tickets for the students. Greatly appreciative. And I also want to mention, with this being my last meeting, just how much being able to present at these meetings has meant to me. Being a part of student council with Ms. DeLucia and Ms. D'Amelio has been a great experience for me this entire year, working on public speaking and things like that. And I just want to also give a shout out to Mr. McQueenie for your nonstop communication with us and willingness to work with us throughout this entire school year. So thank you to the entire board for that. Lucas.
Hello, my name is Lucas Hine. I'm the executive treasurer. Just adding off of what Kyle said, like, everyone was so thankful for you guys, like, paying for the prom, and that was something that I don't think anyone ever expected, but will forever be grateful for. Just to kind of cap things off, thank you guys for being there to listen to us and let us be the representatives from the school, and it's been quite the experience the past year, and I just wanted to thank you guys, and Mr. McQueenie, good luck with everything within your future, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Sarah Caruso, and I'm the new Executive Secretary for Student Council. It's nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too.
Hi, I'm Joe Burns. I'm the new executive treasurer, and I'm excited for future meetings.
Hi, my name is Nick Wang. I'm the new executive vice president. I'm happy to see that this year we made the best out of a not so great situation, and I'm excited to work with you guys next year.
Thank you, Nick.
Hi, I'm Christopher Burns, and I'm the executive historian next year, and I'm excited to be working with you all next year as a senior, and it's nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too.
Hi, I'm Matthew Bomahanum. I'll be the new executive president, and we're all really excited for next year with like homecoming, Winterfest, and prom, especially prom, because like none of that happened. So we're really excited.
Terrific. Mr. McQueen, do you have anything to say? Don't go away.
Welcome to our new students. You have some rather large shoes to fill. To the executive government that's leaving us, you guys did a phenomenal job representing the school. Your commitment to your peers and how you handled yourself during, as Nick put it best, not such a great year, but you guys made it special, and a lot of the work that was done this year is attributed to your work behind the scenes, meeting with me, meeting with Mr. Spring, and just always focusing on the positive. So I want to thank you guys. I know there's others that aren't here tonight. Hopefully they're listening. Thank you and best wishes in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McQueen. I would just like to add, welcome to our new officers. We look forward to seeing you at the meetings. And, you know, Kyle and Lucas and your other colleagues who aren't here this evening, thank you so much for showing up and giving voice to the students that we couldn't really see. We really appreciated your efforts and everything you had to say. I'm really glad you enjoyed the prom. Did it rain last night? Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, thanks again for everything you did this past year, and good luck to both of you. Moving on to approval of the minutes, do I have a motion? Thank you, Kurt. Second?
Second.
Neve, thank you. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes?
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zawicki.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Superintendent's report. Mr. McQueenie?
Thank you, Mrs. Bragg. First, I want to, in the spirit of recognitions today, the district was made aware that one of our board members has achieved the status of master board member. This is a requirement that you have to take 40 credits of different school boards, professional development and training. This board member achieved 84, more than double of those, and is trained. So that's quite an accomplishment. I know from experience how difficult it is to be a board member, much less put the work into it to be trained and professionally developed. So today, from the School Boards Association, it says you are among the elite group of school board members who have completed the requirements of the Board Member Academy program and are hereby awarded the designation of Master Board Member, April 2021, Mrs. Kimberly Bragg. All right, I would like to highlight a few things going on in the district. As always, as our students put it, making the best of a difficult year, but they really have made it special. I want to report out on some of our sports athletics achievements. We had 4 different seasons. There was a unique season 3 where they moved wrestling and volleyball was in there, gymnastics, golf, bowling was in another one. But we reported out and teased at last board meeting that our girls volleyball team won the North 1 Group 2 State Sectional Championship, which we're very proud of them. But I also want to report out at some other individual accomplishments, not just the volleyball team, but our gymnastics, our wrestling, and our golf team. In volleyball, getting first team honors, we had Mackenzie Wiggins and Martina Foy. Second team, Daniela Abasante. And a tremendous honor, not only to this young lady, but to Coach Hall, his program. We have the first ever Gatorade New Jersey Player of the Year here at Sparta High School, Mackenzie Wiggins. So that is a huge accomplishment, the first ever in Sussex and Morris County. This year also saw our inaugural season for our gymnastics program, and we had some individual honors. First team, Maylee Moriarty, and I apologize again, my last name is McQueenie, I get it, so I apologize for any mispronunciations. Second team, Natalie Blazak and Megan Smith. In wrestling, we had a first team honor, Nick Wang, who was here with us tonight. Second team, Jack Nada and Troy Schmitzer. And in golf, we had another state champion, Michael Foley won the Group 2 state championship last week, and we believe placed 5th overall in the entire state. So congratulations to Michael. 7th. Thank you, Mrs. Derrick. 7th. So congratulations to Michael Foley for that great accomplishment. Next week, we have our Sparta musical. It is Sparta High School's extraordinary playlist. To commemorate the last 20 years of SHS musicals, we will be performing selected scenes from past productions. Each senior cast member will be featured and celebrated, and the underclassmen will be previewing next year's production. An extraordinary production for an extraordinary year. Tickets are available via Eventbrite, $7 per ticket. For more information about tickets, please contact Mrs. DeLucia. We are scheduled to perform on Castles Field at 8 o'clock on June 4th and June 5th. However, if the weather does not cooperate, we will move the show to the auditorium. So I encourage everybody out there to come view this amazing program that they're putting together and performing outside. This week also marked our first Choose to Include week. You'll see many staff members, including myself, wearing Choose to Include t-shirts. We also have the bracelets that Mrs. Bragg alluded to. Mrs. Burnett, our district behaviorist, Coach Schock, special education teacher at Sparta High School, Ryan Lausch, teacher at Alpine, and Dr. Castorina, supervisor of special services, were all involved in planning this week. Each district school had a banner for students, teachers, and support staff and administration to pledge to spread the word inclusion to kickstart our week. On Monday, we wore red, white, and blue to pledge to include. Tuesday was Camo Day to acknowledge invisible disabilities. Wednesday was Jersey Day to represent our work as a team to promote inclusion. And today we were invited to wear a shirt that helped to make us feel included. Wristbands were distributed to every student and staff member, which were worn all week. Families shared their stories and videos related to acceptance and inclusion, as well as posted to their social media accounts while tagging various accounts and hashtags. Our unified sports track team continues to compete under the guidance of Coach Jennifer Schock, and we're scheduled to compete in Mount Olive this coming Tuesday, June 1st. So we invite everybody to come out, support these great efforts. This was the first year we had our unified sports program. We also this year had a state grant from the New Jersey Coalition of Inclusive Education to promote inclusion in our classrooms. So some great work by these staff members. As mentioned last night, we had a prom. Thank you again to this Board of Education for your generosity in supporting our seniors this year to provide them with a free prom. The students had a great time last night. Miraculously, the weather held out. We anticipated 50-mile-an-hour gusts and rain sideways, and in tuxedos and prom dresses, that's not a good mix. And somebody was looking out for us, so we were able to have a little bit of drizzle at the beginning, but as soon as they got out of the car, dried right up. Students had a great night. Mr. Spring reported there was a lot of dancing. Personally, my son was there, and Mr. Spring noticed him having a great time, and he is feeling it today, quite tired today from all his moving and shaking last night. So congratulations to the high school for a great prom. We're happy that we could provide that in-person opportunity. And finally, as Mrs. Bragg alluded to, this evening is my last board meeting as superintendent of the schools here in Sparta. Mr. Beck, who is here with us this evening, will be taking over as the permanent superintendent of schools Tuesday, June 1st. I want to thank this board for providing me the opportunity and support over the past year to be the superintendent in Sparta. It's such an incredible, amazing district. I was truly honored to be able to lead such a great district. Over the past year, we've seen a lot of accomplishments that I'm very, very proud of. We started last year coming out of a district improvement program from CUSAC and curriculum. We were able to remedy that, eliminate that district improvement plan, and bring our curriculum up to the standards that it should be. Late May, I was given the opportunity to be the superintendent as well as the assistant superintendent for curriculum, and took on those two jobs with the support of this board and immediately began planning an in-person graduation, which was fantastic. Over the summer, we crafted a return to school plan. We managed numerous openings and closings based on all the various guidelines and health and safety protocols that were given to us. Despite all that, we maintained very successful sports programs. We were able to, as mentioned earlier, state championships were won. At this time, we have our schools back open, inclusive of lunch period, and all our students coming for in-person instruction if they choose. We focused on facilities. We were able to continue the process to install a playground at Mohawk Avenue School. In this auditorium, revamp the sound system to allow our theatrical and musical productions to have the system they deserve. And below us, unseen, we have an orchestra pit that we were able to fix this year and eliminate a water problem in there, which will make it usable for years to come. We've expanded RTI learning programs. In this current budget, we will have a K-12 mental health program for our students to support them as they return to school. We've focused on inclusion and diversity. We were able to implement a unified sports program, a Choose to Include Week, the New Jersey State Inclusion Grant. We were able to establish a Sparta C3 committee and a diversity council to look at inclusion and diversity in our schools. We have a State Board of Education recognized project that stemmed from those, showing the ability of our students to communicate their feelings of how we can be more inclusive and diverse here. We've expanded a partnership with Sussex County College that will allow graduating seniors to receive their associate's degree before they walk across the stage and receive a Sparta High School diploma. We had a very successful prom. We anticipate a traditional graduation. And with all this, we were able to expand all those programs and craft a budget that will actually decrease the school taxes for the community of Sparta. With all those accomplishments, I'm extremely proud to have led during those times to allow us to continue to be the great school district we are. I wish Mr. Beck good luck leading this district. He has a lot to look forward here. And I thank, again, the board for their support. And I thank the entire Spartan learning community for all the support it's given me. I have a lot of lessons learned, a lot of great experiences that I will take with me to my next journey. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. McKinney. I'm going to insert a president's report here. We have 2 board member vacancies. If you are interested in becoming a board member, please email your letter of intent and resume to Mr. Ron Smith by June 10th. And interviews will be held in closed executive session on June 24th. Okay, moving on to 10.1, the approval of the HIB report. Mr. Smith, roll call, please.
Mrs. Bragg,
Yes?
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zwicky.
Yes.
Okay, that was my bad. Guys, I did not do a motion for the HIB. Please, can we redo that? I need a motion, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Neve. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Vanessa. Any discussion? Roll call, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, if you could do that again.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yep.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zwicky.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to delegate liaison reports. I had a request from our return to school chair, Dr. Zwicky, to report out on the return to school committee, update us on that, as well as discuss a proposed resolution. Dr. Zwicky?
Thank you very much. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Mrs. Sorensen for poking and prodding the Return to School Committee over the past 2 weeks regarding this issue. The Return to School Committee discussed it and was unanimous. And so on behalf of the Return to School Committee, we would like to make a motion, I would like to make a motion with the support of my colleagues, and for a resolution that reads as follows. Be it resolved that the Sparta Board of Education hereby formally requests that Governor Phil Murphy and the New Jersey Department of Health address the glaring gaps and inconsistencies between Executive Order 175 and Executive Order 241, Specifically, the board hereby supports the expansion of Executive Order 241 to remove the mask mandate for it to be inclusive of indoor K-12 public school settings no later than the 2021-2022 school year.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
I'm going to give that to Kurt Mead, if that's okay with you.
I guess.
One second. We're going to call, Mr. Smith, just so you know, we're going to call that resolution 11.2. Discussion, anybody here? Do we have any comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yep.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zawicki.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, unanimous. Thank you, Dr. Mrs. Zawicki. Do you have any update that you want to report out from return to school, or is that it?
That was it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the delegate liaison reports. Do we have anybody want to, me? Go
I
ahead.
do, yep. The Alpine PTO is hosting the Alpine Play and Win on Saturday, June 12th. It's going to be virtual, so it's going during the day, people will be allowed to come and drop tickets, and then the drawing will be taking place at 7 p.m. So you can either contact the Alpine PTO or check their Facebook page for more information, or you can also email alpinetrickytray@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody? Vanessa?
Yeah. I just want to remind everyone, SEF will be holding their tournament on June 6th. So if you haven't registered, I encourage you to register. It's for a good cause.
Do you know what the cutoff date is for registration?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, okay. If you look, we'll keep going. We'll come back
Okay.
to that. I know, I just remember there was a cutoff.
There is.
Anybody who can participate, SEF does a lot of great things
Yeah.
for our school district. And like any other fundraising group, they've been hit pretty hard this past year. So if you can turn up and play cornhole, that would be very much appreciated. Anybody else? Okay. Let's move on to public comments number 1. This is for action items only. Please state the action item number as well as your name, address for the record. Each participant will receive 3 minutes to speak, and we're only taking 1 comment per person this evening. Do we have anybody for public comment number 1? Okay, moving on, personnel policy. Do I have a motion? I'm sorry, we're going to move on 13.1 through 13.22. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Neve. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Vanessa. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes?
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zawicki.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to curriculum instruction and special services. We are looking to move 14.1 through 14.6. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Krista, was that you?
Yes.
There's a 7. There's a 7.
There's a 7, thank you. 14.7. Krista was the first motion. Second motion.
Second.
Thank you, Kurt. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yeah.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zawicki.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to finance. We are moving on finance 15.1 through
15.28.
1528.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Was Krista, was that you? Vanessa, was that you too?
Yeah.
Okay. Vanessa, will you be the second?
Yep.
Thank you. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zawicki.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries. Moving on to page 32, operations. We are looking to move 16.1
16.
through 16.18.
Motion.
Thank you, Dr. Zwicky.
Second.
Thank you, Krista. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Gregg,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zawicki.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Now we're on to renewals. We're looking to move 17.1 through 17.61. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Neve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vanessa. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Gregg,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
Yes.
Dr. Zawicki.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, moving on to unfinished business, follow-up from any previous meetings. Does anybody have anything? Okay, I have something I wanted to share. At a previous meeting, one of our community members brought to the attention of the board a bill that was in the assembly at the time. And I just wanted to give an update on that bill. I am very supportive of it. The board is supportive of it. It's the Special Education Aging Out Bill. Here is the recent update. Bill number A5366/S3434. The bill would require boards of education to provide special education and related services to students exceeding the age of eligibility. This bill would extend eligibility by requiring school boards to provide the services included in an individualized education program to students who reach the age of 21 during the 2021 school year, the 21-22 school year, and the 22 through 23 school year, provided that the parent of the student and the IEP team decide that the student requires additional services, including transition services. The bill now heads back to the state Senate, which passed a previous version of the bill in March to concur with amendments made in the Assembly. Once approved by the Senate, the bill will go on to the governor's desk. In essence, what this does is our students in our post-grad program who are set to age out of our program would be given another year due to the pandemic. So we're eagerly waiting the results of this particular bill so that the families of these students can be made aware of whether or not their child can stay in school one more year. I just thought people might be interested in that. Okay, colleagues, do we have any new business?
I do.
Go ahead, Dr. Sweeney.
Sparta, when I remember when our real estate agent was showing us homes, talked about the amazing school system and Sparta's reputation not only as an academic powerhouse, but also an athletic powerhouse as well. I know for many parents and families, this district has had a long dedication and storied history of being dedicated to athletics. This year we expanded with gymnastics and unified sports, and I think that continues in that tradition. That being said, I think we need to ask some questions like, are we fully compliant with Title IX? Do all of our athletes have access to all the same services? Are there ways that we could be better supporting our coaches with professional development, training, things like that? So I would like to propose, and if my colleagues would like to do this, that we make a motion to create an ad hoc joint subcommittee on athletics. The membership of that committee to include 2 board members from personnel and 2 from finance and operations, and also to include coaches, parents, and athletes to take a look at our athletic programs. We've taken a long, hard look at our academic programs over the past couple of years, and we have a budget that supports enhancing those things and moving forward, but I think this is another area that we should look to look in the mirror and see where we can be the best, because we're dedicated to being the best. And so if my colleagues would support that, Kim, you can do that, or we could take a motion to do that.
I'm glad to do that, yeah.
Excellent.
So no motion is required. Thank you for bringing that up. I think we'll do whatever we have to make this district stronger and better. Moving on to public comment. Well, let me just say, is there any other new business before we move on? Okay. Public comment number 2.
Good evening, Jenny Derricks, Tap into Sparta. First, I would like to personally thank Mary Hassenplug. I don't know who told you could leave. For her 10 years here at the district, she's done quite a phenomenal job as a English language supervisor, ESL supervisor. Couple of quick questions. I see on the agenda, math program, ESY, extended school year, PD for math. Is there other similar type programs or PD for extended year? Are we offering extended year? What is that going to look like for all of our students who have had such a tough year? Academically, I'm speaking.
Go ahead.
The short answer is I can email it to you because it's quite substantial.
Perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. If you want to email me the questions you have about it, I'd be happy to answer it. Summary, there's quite a bit going on. You see that now. There'll be more coming in June, looking at K through 12 extended learning programs for all sorts of levels of students. So it's not going to look the same at every building, but there's something meeting the needs of students at every building. So if you send me an email, I'd be happy to give you what's planned.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Along those lines, state and federal aid that was promised for such programs, have we received that, or are we just expecting that if we get it, we'll credit back for these programs, or how does that work?
We've been provided our first allocation of what's called ESSER 2 funds, and we've submitted the application to the state. The state will review it after June 1st. I'm having trouble. The state will review it after the June 1st deadline. We anticipate receiving probably about $283,000 to be used over the next couple of years. They also just released the allocations for what's called ESSER 3, which is the American Relief Plan, and that, I believe, we are expected to get about $580,000 to $590,000. That will be something the district will be working on over the summer. The application for that money is due in November. So those monies have been allocated to us. It's a matter of processing the applications to fund the programs that we're going to be implementing.
Wonderful. Thank you for that information. Just a couple quick more. Polis Club here at the high school. What is that? What is the need for that? How are we going to make sure that this doesn't turn into something that reflects what's going on with our adults regarding political discussions and so on?
Sure. This is something that Mr. Kircher really kind of was born out of some of the work that he's done to provide safe space for articulate discussion regarding topics. We have some students that felt strongly they wanted to create a club and a space to provide those conversations. It is intended to be nonpartisan, so it'll be incumbent upon the advisor and our administrative team to ensure that that maintains true to its intent.
Thank you. I heard the buzzer, but I just have one quick question. Tuition-wise, why is middle school more expensive than the high school? And I'll just leave it with that. It's like $150.
Thank you for bringing that up. We'll have to.
We'll look into it. I don't have an
Mr.
answer.
McQueenie will look into that and get back to you. If more people have questions, if I could please, you can come on down. If I could just ask you to please line up so it just goes faster. Mr. Kelly, if you could just, maybe have the line up wherever it works for you. Okay, perfect.
Do I have to sign?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Good evening, Leonora DeStefano, 12 Tracy Lane. I'm here tonight because I wanted to publicly thank the music department. Mr. McQueenie, Dr. Zawicki, they've just spoken about, this year and the amazing jobs that we've done this year. And as a parent, if I could say in my opinion, one of the departments that have done an amazing job has been the music department. Mrs. Lopez, Mrs. Santora, from last year, every single day, my children and anyone involved in that program had instruction. I don't know if any of you play an instrument, I do, and learning an instrument virtually or learning to read music virtually cannot be easy. And I don't think anyone has done it before. So I think that, Dr. Zawicki, you spoke about the history of Sparta, and you mentioned the academics and the sports. I can tell you, because my family's been here for almost 50 years, Sparta has always historically had an amazing art program. So I think that should be publicly acknowledged. And it kind of piggybacks me to why I really came. Earlier in the year, you communicated to us an issue on social media that was very wrong. Violent words were said and absolutely should have been called out. Yet one of our teachers, one of our music teachers, were publicly called out, and not nice things were said about her on social media. And I thought, oh, we're going to get another letter. The board is going to send us another letter reminding us that Sparta doesn't behave that way. And the incident that why this whole social media rant happened was because the teacher told a student during pickup to put his mask on. Okay, and my son was present. My son is present, and he told me what happened. And the child's response was, you can't tell me what to do. That was the student's response. Now, we all know that there's three sides to any argument, but as a parent, I know I told my son that day, you never speak to a teacher that way. Whether you like her, don't like her, whether you don't agree with him, that's the school rule, put the mask on, so be it, that's the rule. She was only following the directions of the district. So I find it very difficult that we didn't receive communication as a district reminding parents that, hey, talk to your kids because you should be a little bit more respectful to your teachers. We've received an entire year of social and emotional learning. We have a committee on cultural and climate, yet we're allowing middle school students to tell a teacher, you can't tell me what to do.
That's the time, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mary Mans. I am a resident of Sparta and a grandmother of a student in the Alpine School. Tonight, however, I speak to you as a family therapist, licensed here in New Jersey and in practice for the past 29 years. I speak as a professional who sees fear and misinformation about COVID risks bringing devastation to children and their families. In turn, this fear has resulted in school policies which at this point in the pandemic, no matter how well-intended, are misguided and hurting our children. I wrote that previously to coming to the meeting, and I am very pleased to hear of your resolution tonight to end that, or try to end that mask mandate by going to Governor Murphy. However, I will continue to read what I've written tonight because I feel that it's important to remember that and to continue to push for these mandates to be lifted. I have seen each week of the pandemic as pediatricians refer parents and children to me for emotional help. I have seen parents governed not by knowledge, but by fear, keeping their children in masks, requiring constant hand sanitizing, and keeping them socially isolated from their peers and family members. Some children have suffered from anxiety and depression from not being able to socialize with their friends. Many others I have seen exemplify the early stages of obsessive-compulsive disorder, which we know can be a lifelong illness. These behaviors and these fears have gone on and on. I know these conditions too well, for I have been treating them for over 3 decades. However, the scale and intensity of these events has gone well beyond anything I have experienced before, and it has scared me deeply and has caused me to speak tonight. Why? And maybe this is why you've made this resolution, that you understand this also. Why is the risk not worthy of these fears? The recent CDC data published in the New York Times says the death rate among each 100,000 children ages 1 to 17 from COVID is exactly 2. That's right, 2. Less than deaths of seasonal flu. And yet with COVID, we've done things very differently. At a time in the lives of children when they learn and grow emotionally from opportunities to socialize and to be face-to-face with peers, teachers, families, we have been, instead of protecting them, we've been admonishing them to not do that. Children pass through each stage of childhood once.
We need to.
That's the time. Thank you.
Okay, all right, and
If you
so.
would like to, if you would like to leave,
statement? Yeah.
if you would like to leave your comments with Mr. Kelly, and he could deliver them to me, and then I'll pass them out to the board.
Thank you, I appreciate
Well,
that.
and I thank you very much for coming out. It's nice to see a new face, and I really appreciate your words.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Kelly, if you could just, thank you very much. We'll take a look at them. Hi, if you could just sign in, please.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, great.
Yeah, they did beforehand.
Oh, great, thank you. If you could just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tammy Healy. I live on Sparta Mountain. The last time I spoke here apparently struck a nerve with one of the high school students. I was comparing our current situation with what had happened in Nazi Germany and the Holocaust. If he or anyone else thinks that I'm wrong to associate the two, well, I would encourage you all to research a woman by the name of Vera Sharav. She is a Holocaust survivor living in New York City and has been warning Americans about what is happening now and how it is very similar to the same procedures the Nazis used to take over Germany and murder millions of Jews. Currently, Nuremberg trials of 2021 is taking place. If you guys look at the screenshot that I have there on your papers, I believe now you guys have some explaining to do. The screenshot on your paper is of a document released by the New Jersey Department of Health on March 23, 2021, regarding the return to full-time in-school instruction. Clearly states that no CDC or DOH guidance can replace state law. Even if we consider Executive Order 175 law, which it is not, the guidance being implemented in schools is still in violation. Last time I checked, New Jersey still had a constitution, and that constitution still protects our God-given unalienable rights. And state law says no one can practice medicine without a license. It's a third-degree crime. And state law says that only man or woman who can quarantine another man or woman is a licensed medical doctor, and only after a written affidavit is sworn in a court of law and a judge signs a court order. And state law says discrimination in a place of public accommodation, AKA school, is a crime punishable by fine and imprisonment. Any public servant who deprives any man, woman, or child of their rights, including detaining them like a quarantine room, that man or woman is guilty of a third-degree crime. I could go on and on, listing the state and federal laws being broken and the crimes being committed. How did we get here? How can public servants like yourselves, who swore an oath to the Constitution, not even know what the Constitution says or what the law says, or how to read and implement guidance that is not law? Law is not subject to change. Adults have a choice to comply. Children see administrators, teachers, other adults as authority figures. Children do not know how to exercise their rights. Herein lies the problem. Guidance is being forced upon children as if it were law. Parents have not consented, and many here tonight have overtly declined. I can accept that people make mistakes, but when they continue to willfully enforce unlawful guidance, they are personally responsible for committing crimes and depriving children of their rights. I won't let it go unnoticed or unpunished. Please dig deep into your conscience and do the right thing. Ignorance of the law does not excuse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Melissa Marborg, and I live at 5 Byron Place in Sparta. I'm going to pull up my speech. I'm the mother of a special needs little girl, and I've come here before to talk about how I don't believe in social distancing or masks for the children because of the statistics and how it doesn't harm them, and how those mandates do. So, and she did throw up in school 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I said, "Where did you throw up?" And she said, "In my mask." And I said, "Where did it go?" And she said, "Back in my mouth." So we still have to get through the rest of this school year, and it's going to be hot in June, and they're going to be in masks for the rest of this school year. So all this mask mandate stuff is coming to us as an executive order. The governor claims his authority comes from the Emergency Health Powers Act. The Emergency Health Powers Act clearly states the only way a person can be deprived of their rights, even in an emergency, is through due process. Quarantines, vaccines, and masks cannot be forced. Furthermore, our system was designed with 3 parts for a reason, so that one part never gets out of control. The executive branch, into which the governor is elected, cannot make law. Have you ever heard the maxim, ignorance of the law is not an excuse? Would you say we all have an inherent right to breathe fresh air? Are any of you qualified to diagnose a communicable disease? Do you have a court order to force quarantines and medical interventions on minor children? Do you have consent from any of these parents to force their children to endure medical interventions? Your policy, which is very far from anything to be considered law, is in opposition to the Supremacy Clause and clearly contradicts our God-given rights protected by the 5th, 9th, and 14th Amendments to the Constitution. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in these orders that you blindly are following? Depriving children of their rights is a serious crime, and ignorance of the law is no excuse. Your confidence in forcing medical interventions on minor children without written consent of the parents needs to be a 10, because there are a number of parents right here who clearly do not consent, and since you approve the policies, each one of you can be held personally liable. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, closing public comment number 2 for the good of the order. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize we had one more. Do we have anybody else? You can come on up. If you could just sign in, please. I know who you are, but sign in and state your name and address. Do we have anybody else? Okay. After you go, you will be the final commenter.
I wasn't planning on speaking, but since I was alluded to, I might as well speak.
If you could please just state your name and address.
Kyle Newer, 36 Skyview Drive. So if we want to bring up the Holocaust again and bring up statistics and pinpoint, what about the over 1,000 Holocaust survivors who survived Hitler and survived Nazi Germany only to die because of COVID-19? I think it's misleading, and you can laugh, but it's fine. It's very professional of you. I think it's misleading to pinpoint specific facts, majority of which aren't true. They're not facts. And then to ignore the vast majority of the truths coming from scientists and real science. To Ms. Healy specifically, I appreciate your civil disobedience in not wearing your masks, but with all due respect, our teachers, the students have gone this entire school year at one point 64 minutes straight with our masks without issue. We've all been fine. It's.
Got to direct your comments to the chair, please.
Yeah, Mr. Newworth, your comments have to be directed at me, not to somebody in the public.
Sure, I'll look at you, but I think
Thank you,
sure.
I appreciate that.
With all due respect, I had to do an AP research presentation for my AP grade with a mask on. I had to do this big public speaking presentation with a mask, and it was fine. There are much bigger problems in this world than this mask. We've made it 14, 15 months. It's almost over. I just think it's kind of laughable to make that big of a deal out of it. In addition, I don't really understand the point in speaking here to these board members. They have done the most that they can do within the state guidelines, and at this point, they're driven to the state guidelines, and if you want to change them, you're going to have to talk to the state or to the governor. So I don't think you all deserve to have to deal with this, and this essentially pointless speaking that does not really have a purpose because it can't change anything. And finally, I just think it's interesting that when students come to Sparta High School, they're expected to follow the mask policy, when throughout the past year that I've been observing this Board of Education, there are certain board members who very rarely wear their masks, and now audience members at Sparta High School blatantly ignoring the Sparta High School and Sparta School District mask policy without repercussion. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Closing public comment number 2, moving on to 21.1 for the good of the order.
I just wanted to say one thing for the good of the order.
Hey, Krista, could you just pull that closer?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Patrick mentioned this in his superintendent report. I just wanted to recognize Jennifer Schock and her dedication to the students of our district and her commitment to the Unified Sports Program. Just wanted to give her some additional
Yes, thank you, Coach
recognition.
Schock, for kicking off this Unified Sports season. It's such a special program, and our district is much better off for having it. Thanks for bringing that up, Krista. Do you have anything else? Anybody else?
I have a couple things.
Go ahead.
So I would like to echo what Mrs. DeStefano said about the music department. I think it's absolutely fantastic that we're going to have some concerts coming up. And for our students, many, I'll include my own kids in that, you know, Mrs. Yang and Ms. Santora, the musical programs kept many kids engaged during the pandemic, especially during the closure, and they did a phenomenal job, and I'm super happy that there's going to be outdoor concerts coming up. One of the other things that, you know, Mary Hassenplug has a, you know, phenomenal legacy here in Sussex County, not just in Sparta, but also the other places she's worked, and it's a real loss for the educational community, her retirement, and thank you for your service to the district. You're phenomenal. And to Mr. McQueenie, who had to jump in some of the worst conditions and saw us through a variety of challenges, and did get schools fully reopened, full day, serving lunch, all the buildings, and you know, he did do 2 jobs this entire year. Had, you know, even on his vacation days, there were no vacation days. He was constantly dealing with all of the stuff that was going on. And, you know, we all owe you a debt of gratitude for your amazing leadership, and I wish you the best in your next superintendency.
Thank you.
Anybody else before I go? Okay, I have several things. I'd like to echo your sentiments about Mrs. Hassenplug. I was really sad to see you on the retirement list, but also very happy for you, and I just want to wish you all the best in your future. Thank you for everything you've done for the district. We did attend, I say we, Krista, Vanessa, and I did attend the April NJ SBA Sussex County meeting. The focus was on regionalization, and we could not attend this month's meeting because it was tonight at 6:30, and there was a conflict. I just wanted to mention that. You already talked about SEF. You talked about bracelets. I was able to attend the boys and girls lacrosse senior nights on the turf field, and those were both pretty special. It was great to see the kids together and playing, and seeing the parents' pride on their faces as their seniors were honored. That was really special. I was also able to attend with Vanessa the Top 10 dinner, which is really just a very, very special evening. Our top 10 students, their parents, attend. I keep saying dinner. There was no dinner involved. There were cookies. They pick a teacher that inspired them, and the students address the teacher and the teacher address them. And it's, you know, there was not a dry eye in the house by the end of the evening. So congratulations to those top 10 students. And that is all I have for this evening.
Ms. Bragg, I forgot something. I'm sorry.
Yes, go
Can I bring
ahead.
something? Invitations recently went out for the monogram dinner.
Yes.
Which is going to be taking place on Castles Field. I know that was planned prior to tomorrow, everything being lifted. I would like to, on behalf of a lot of constituents who have reached out, to ask the administration to reconsider and perhaps, you know, try to have it the way it used to be pre-pandemic, whereas at Perona Farms and some other places, for those athletes, some of whom, you know, lost so much with last year. If we could try to see if there's some dates available to have a, you know, a regular monogram dinner like we used to have, especially since, you know, all of those restrictions have been lifted. If the administration could look into that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so we can wrap it up. 24.1, motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Neve, second.
Second.
Krista, was it you?
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?